Salutations. This week, our guest host is Riko Tatsukawa. There were a couple of mic issues, but enjoy.
Mike's hot, set the tone. Lily's in the booth claiming the throne. Podcast, you already know. Turn it up loud, let the truth get thrown. Podcast, turn it up loud. Say the things they ain't allowed. Mic check, who's running the show? Lily Abernathy, let them all know. Hit record, let's get it going. No off limits, no slow rolling. Podcast, let the truth drop. Start the countdown, we ain't gon' stop. Start the countdown, we ain't gon' stop. Mike's hot, set the tone. Lily's in the booth claiming the throne. Podcast, you already know. Turn it up loud, let the truth get thrown. Hit record, let's get it going. No off limits, no slow rolling. Podcast, let the truth drop. Start the countdown, we ain't gon' stop.
Konnichiwa. Welcome to Podcast. I am Riko Tatsukawa, Japan's #1 podcast with Lily Abernathy fan. Today, I'm guest hosting because Lily has entrusted me with important mission. Very serious. Like the Ozma fight in Final Fantasy IX. Today, I must talk about Conan O'Brien, my hero, my teacher, the man who taught me English through late-night television. I owe my entire English-speaking ability to this man and a dangerous amount of cup ramen. If I sound strange, blame Conan. And blame Nissin. Conan O'Brien just crushed the 2025 Oscars, and all I could think was, how? How did NBC ever let this man go? I imagine a better world where Conan was never exiled from The Tonight Show, where NBC didn't make the biggest mistake in late-night history, where Jay Leno did not awkwardly sneak back into his chair like a tanuki trying to steal food from your picnic. Jay Leno is like Nato. Some people love him. Some people think he is a crime against nature. I respect Jay Leno. He was funny in the past, but even he knew his return was a mistake. NBC got scared, and instead of letting Conan grow into the role, they panicked. They ran back to safe, to familiar, to boring. But Conan? He was always meant for this. Watching him host the Oscars, it was so clear. He's still sharp, still weird, still effortless, still funny. Me and Bai-Ai, rare combination for an Oscars host. The Academy keeps hiring bad choices. Stand-ups who look lost. Talk show hosts who have no charisma. Actors who cannot read teleprompter. But Conan? He thrives in this chaos. His monologue perfect. Every joke landed. He made fun of celebrities without apologizing 5 seconds later, like a true Ronin. This is exactly what the Oscars needed. After years of hosts being too scared to offend anyone or trying too hard to be edgy, Conan just was himself. It felt like The Tonight Show. The one that should have been. Instead, NBC threw it away. Like someone tossing perfectly good onigiri because it was one day past the expiration date. They had host who was fresh. Different. And they panicked because his audience was too young for their old people who still watched cable sitcoms. And what did we get after Leno finally left? Fallon. A man who built his career on fake laughing, breaking character, and alcohol. I knew he was mess in his SNL days, but now? His talk show is like a never-ending izakaya night where the salarymen have given up on life. His show should be called The Drunk Salaryman Hour. Lily told me he was banned from bars in Jacksonville, Florida, when she worked there in her 20s. That is interesting information. In Japan, we have people who get banned from karaoke rooms for screaming too much into mic, but being banned from bars? That is next level. Maybe he should sit in dark room like Shinji Ikari and think about his life choices. Meanwhile, Conan never stopped. He grew his audience. He took over internet. And after all these years, he's still one of the funniest men alive. He's like Godzilla, but for comedy, and with better hair. And NBC. They lose him forever. I hope people who fired Conan watch the Oscars and feel deep, painful regret. Like when you realize you left your umbrella on the train. Because he just proved he is still one of the best. NBC could have had a legendary late-night legacy. Instead, they chose safe. Familiar. Leno. Fallon. And what did they get? Irrelevance. Meanwhile, Conan thrived. And when the Oscars needed saving, who did they call? Not Fallon, not Kimmel, not Ghostbuster. They call Conan O'Brien. Maybe NBC should have done same thing 15 years ago. This has been Podcast with Riko Tatsukawa. Lily, I hope I make you proud. Now, excuse me, I must go eat my victory sushi and drink 3 cans of Boss coffee. Sayonara.
$10.99s.
That's right.
Okay, so basically, so that's I think so the Oscars in general as a show has kind of fallen off. They did like 1 year where Kevin Hart quit, and they like had no comedian wants to do the Oscars anymore, which is crazy. It used to be like the dream, you know.
Yeah, hey, people start getting slapped.
Hey, Oscar himself is here, Professor Grouch.
Oh, wow!
Thank
you. We love you.
What an honor. So it went from like the gig everyone wanted at one point. Billy Crystal was great at it. I'm not even being ironic. If you watch his 90s,
multiple years in a row,
it kind of pains me to say he was good at it because I actually kind of don't like Billy Crystal.
It's like the one thing.
Kind of
the one thing he like excelled at. Like he's like the ideal Oscars host. Like if you watch his 90s monologues, they're like, it's like funny and it's roasty, but it's like, you know, still like it makes everyone feel like they're in on the joke. But also it was before. Oh, also he would always make fun of Jack Nicholson for fucking a lot, and that was always and Jack would always be there like,
it's crazy. Like,
Billy, you got me again.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, like when Harry Met Sally is pretty much a perfect movie.
Oh, that's a great movie. Yeah. I don't know. You know what it was? It was like the blackface jazz man thing. I thought that was really lame. Not even like it being offensive or something. I just thought it sucked.
He did that in 2012, which was crazy.
Yeah.
When he hosted again in 2012, he brought his fucking jazz man.
It's like his favorite character or something.
City Slickers.
Oh, okay. No, look, I like him as an actor and stuff, but like anything I've seen him do that was like comedy wise outside of that, like I haven't really been a big fan.
No, Don was just saying aloud what he thinks of me, but inside.
Was he in 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag, or am I mistaken?
I think that's Joe Pesci.
Yeah, never mind.
Anyway, so I think the 90s, much like honestly entertainment in general, it was great. And when I was a kid, you know, I know I was a kid and stuff, but like I really do think that it's objectively declined. I don't know if you guys read those articles that like no comic wants to host it. I think there's a few that could. I think they nailed it with Conan this year. I think that's gonna be great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
I think when Seth MacFarlane got so panned for doing a pretty goddamn funny job hosting the Oscars, that's when it's kind of like a thankless gig because the best you can do is not bomb. Honestly, like Kevin Hart just hosted the All-Star game, and I felt similarly. I'm like, everyone hated him like so much, and everyone's just like making fun of him all week, and I'm like, well, this is a shit gig, though. It's like you're doing warm-up. The Oscars, you're doing warm-up for a bunch of self-serious people who don't want to be laughed at.
Right.
Yeah, they're all like anything edgy anymore. Like, and you can't make fun of a lot of the nominees anymore because a lot of them are like, we're nominated for woke reasons. So it feels like, ooh, don't make fun of that.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious how Conan's gonna do on all that.
I think Conan. I just trust Conan. I just don't. I think he's just so good at almost. He was great when he hosted the Emmys that one year.
Yeah,
and I just love Conan.